Well, thanks for coming tonight. I don't have anything to throw at you, but I do have a question for you. Who out there has a cell phone? Well, maybe that was the wrong question. How about if you don't have a cell phone, give yourself a little round of applause. So we still got some people left. That's very cool. The obvious point I'm trying to make here is that almost everybody has one of these deals anymore. Just recently, China just implemented their first cell phone lane because people spend their whole day looking around, bumping into people, and we can't have that. Well, in our hands today, we have an incredible tool. It's the culmination of our evolution. With these devices, we can effectively and efficiently run our own business, reach out to friends and family across the country at a moment's notice, and we have access to limitless information and entertainment. Over the past decade, we've been rushed into this new world paradigm of constant connection with the explosion of the internet and smartphones. Life has gotten much more cozy and convenient with these powerful tools. And for many reasons, this is a good thing. However, as our good friend Jerry Maguire said in the movie Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm here this evening to discuss some ideas that while these tools have a great potential for helping mankind evolve and go on to do great things, there's also a great potential danger with this technology. To fully utilize a tool, one must fully understand it, respect it, and handle it with respect. As social animals, we've relied on our abilities to connect physically and empathetically as we've evolved throughout the ages. It's been absolutely crucial for our survival. But for the first time in history, most of our communication with our friends and our family and our peers is done digitally with the palms of our hands. And while we are more connected with each other, it is easy to become more disconnected. And that disconnect, I believe, is causing some very real problems. Depression and suicide rates are skyrocketing. Dehumanizing is leading to more violence and bullying. This is what we are facing as a species in this new digital age. And in order to adapt and evolve alongside in a healthy way with this technology, we need to be mindful of these side effects. For many years, I've thought quite a bit about the psychological effects of digital communication. I almost changed my major to psychology from cinematography in college to pursue these concerns. My passions for these ideas come from my youth. I had a pretty normal childhood. I played with the neighbor kids, did some baseball on the side after school, played some Mario on Nintendo, the usual stuff. However, the day I got my first really powerful computer in middle school, I started playing more video games and stopped hanging out with my friends in real life as much. Eventually, I would do most of my communication through these video games and instant messaging. And while I was still fulfilling my need to socialize, I was getting it in a different way. And it seemed harmless at the time, but little did I know I was stunning my emotional, social, and personal growth. This lasted until late in senior year of high school, and that's when I realized I'd wasted a great opportunity and a crucial time in my life where I was supposed to be learning how to communicate properly with my peers. I was unable to read social cues, suffered extreme short-term memory loss due to everything being saved on the computer and being searchable on Google, unable to sympathize or empathize with my fellow man, unable to distinguish appropriate and inappropriate behavior, and bouts of depression. Ever since then, I've made it a lifelong goal to actively improve my social skills and improve myself, and make up for lost time, quitting the face page, getting out of my comfort zone. I was able to go from socially awkward to starting and maintaining my own freelancing business, to producing acclaimed documentaries, to chasing a dream job in Wyoming and sharing my ideas to an auditorium full of folks. I'm still working on my goal, as it is a lifelong effort, but as I see more and more friends obsessed with their face page and cell phones, friends who can't hardly navigate through their neighborhoods without a GPS, friends who have the attention span and memory of an Alzheimer's patient, I'm worried that people may be going down the same hole I fought so hard to get out of, especially with the average age of children receiving their first cell phones at 11 and a half, according to a study by Verizon. The FBI published in January of this year the trends of shooting events across the country, which have skyrocketed in the last 10 years. A study sponsored by the World Health Organization revealed that the US and France have the highest depression rates in the world, in the supposed first world where we have more comforts and conveniences than anywhere else. Autism rates continue to skyrocket, with an MIT researcher warning that half of all US children could be autistic by 2025. The millennial generation is being brought up with this technology and are growing up with shaky morals and being bombarded by media and entertainment figures like Molly Cyrus, promoting alcohol and drug abuse, promiscuity, and degeneracy. And the artwork tonight was done by a good friend, Zach White. He's a police suspect artist. Porn addiction is becoming a problem in the office, with Business Week publishing an article explaining that the overabundance of people watching it on the job. And there was even recently a story that a man killed his friend out of jealousy when he poked his girlfriend on FacePage. What's going on here? Well, there are multiple potential factors in some or all of these examples. I can't help but think that our obsession with escapism and the constant immersion in the digital world is pushing these numbers. And a brilliant documentary about a brilliant man can be used to make these connections more apparent. Here you see Josh Harris. The documentary is We Live in Public, and it covers the story of this man, and he was one of the players in the dot-com boom in the 90s. He became a millionaire overnight when he launched the first online television streaming network. He had his finger on the pulse of the internet and knew exactly the power that it held. He knew exactly where the world was headed with this new technology, and he culminated that foresight with the multi-million-dollar social experiment, Quiet, We Live in Public. There he collected a group of more than 100 volunteers to live in an underground bunker in New York City for 1 month in December of 1999. There, these volunteers were fed, housed, thoroughly entertained with an endless supply of parties, drugs, and even a shooting range in the basement with an arsenal of weapons that was used regularly. All of this was for free, except for one thing. It would cost them their privacy. There were cameras throughout the entire bunker, in the hallways, in the bathrooms, in the bedrooms, in the showers. All of these things could be turned into on their personal televisions or live on the internet. They all knew they were being watched, and they loved it. What could be observed was a gradual spiral of decadence, hedonism, and careless behavior that eventually led to violence, depression, and mental breakdowns. Does this sound familiar? The experiment was broken up by police on New Year's Day after complaints and concerns about the people inside. Josh Harris was a prophet of sorts, as we are now living in a society where it's perfectly normal to live in public, posting our entire lives on FaceBase and the like, even despite constant reminders that our government and these companies are not to be trusted with the information we are voluntarily giving up. As social animals, we live for validation and connection. And platforms like FacePage, it makes it easy, where you can post every detail about your mundane life for likes and other internet points. And there's a great program, Dateline, it's called Generation Like. You can find it online. It's a great informational program. And again, this digital connection is no replacement for true face-to-face connection. Aside from an actual phone call or the effort of a handwritten letter, when you have something between you and the person you're communicating with, whether it's a cell phone for a text or a computer for an email, it takes away most of the personality and emotion of what's trying to be conveyed. The one exception might be webcams, but even then you have the lag time and the low quality between communications. You have time to think out a response rather than a natural, instinctive response that would occur in a face-to-face conversation. And when this principle is applied to online profiles like FacePage, one can build up their own online persona with stretched truths and exaggerated claims in the selfish hope that one might seem like a more interesting person at the expense of their true humanity and happiness. And there's a nice webcomic from Andy Hurd of Pandyland.net that sums this up pretty well. And this leads one to compare themselves to other online caricatures of people, which leads to depression, identity crisis, or worse. Much of the reason we are where we are today, from the caveman's first fire to the cell phones in our pocket, is our most powerful tool, and that's the brain. The brain is a very adaptive and malleable thing. It's constantly changing and evolving along with our life and surroundings. Routines are carved like canyons into the synapses of our minds, and a person's psyche changes over time along with their life. When one is mostly communicating in emotionless ways, their emotional growth is stunted and can eventually lead to a total lack of empathy in some cases, and a total detachment from reality in worse cases. With the dehumanizing effects of these platforms, it is no wonder why there's so much cyberbullying and gun violence in the country in this day and age. And take a look at shows like Tosh.0 and popular YouTube videos where people can watch other people get hurt or even nearly killed for a laugh. Or reality TV shows that glorify hedonistic and selfish lifestyles. Or our friend Molly Cyrus of the entertainment industries that are making statements that act like me might get rich and famous. This is our entertainment. And like high fructose corn syrup, in small doses it's fine, but in high doses it's poison. Constant exposure to this stuff will condition people to think that it's okay behavior to live at the expense of others without any regard for the well-being of other people. This has bred a generation of self-absorbed, entitled, and egotistical people disconnected from any notion of community and in some cases family. And while there have always been insane people doing terrible things, and there always will be, I believe there's a correlation between the disconnecting and dehumanizing effects of the digital realm and the increase of antisocial behavior, like bullying. There will always be bullying. I was bullied when I was growing up. In some cases, I was the bully. It's just a part of life. However, with this mask of the internet, bullies are able to hide behind this mask while tormenting others without ever seeing the true impact they're having on the other person, making it easier to continue the harassment without any discipline or remorse. That's why we're seeing more of this kind of stuff. There's no true answer to this issue that I can think of other than more parental guidance in regards to cell phone and internet use and stricter discipline. One final example out of many that I have that correlate these factors to our overexposure to the digital world is my personal experience traveling to Nicaragua to work as a director of photography on a documentary. During my time there, I saw firsthand the true ugly face of the third world. People living in extreme poverty, literally living with nothing if they were lucky. Trash in the yards, burning piles of trash, scrap metal huts, little to no infrastructure, and a corrupt government keeping things great for the few and hellish for the many. Yet, despite these factors, the people I met and saw there were happier than many of the people I knew back home, who had a comfortable roof over their head, abundance of food in their pantries, and countless conveniences. The blatant difference I saw there was that the folks of Nicaragua had three things that differed from our society: a strong sense of community, an even stronger sense of family, and the lack of constant digital immersion. We can learn a lot from a culture who lives for each other rather than living for themselves. Oh, how did that get in there? I have a feeling that these topics will be more widely discussed and talked about in the near future, and I look forward to those discussions. Josh Harris warned us in the early days of the internet. The internet's like this new human experience. At first, everybody's going to like it, but there will be a fundamental change in the human condition. One day we're going to wake up and realize we're all just servants. It's captured us. With Moore's law of exponential technological growth, this digital world isn't going anywhere, and it's only going to get more advanced with the implementation of virtual reality, automation, artificial intelligence, in ways we don't even understand yet. This is a fact, and in order to adapt to this new age in a healthy way, we must be mindful of what this new digital world is capable of, the good and the bad, and respect these new tools so that we may use them with respect. Do not underestimate the powers you hold in your hands, and also don't underestimate the power you hold in your heads. Remember this in regards to yourself, your children, and to people in your life as we march into this new world. Put down the phone every once in a while and find the healthy balance. Find moderation. Get outside and walk away from this breakneck pace world every once in a while. Sit down and meditate in your quiet place from time to time. But most important of all, don't get lazy. If more people looked up in this country, maybe we might see the real change that we need. While it's easy to write an email to a friend or text mom, take the effort to make a phone call or write a handwritten letter or stop by for a visit from time to time. It's important to them and it's important for you. Thank you.